There are no spoilers in this video. Yes, technically I know what's going to happen at the next Raw, but I won't even be hinting at any of it. No worries there. But I realized I may have experienced something that not a ton of wrestling fans have actually gotten to. Sure, plenty of you have gone to some shows, but I think going to a double taping is a somewhat of a rarity if you just consider that most of the shows are completely recorded live now, and it was a little bit different, and it was actually kind of weird. So Monday Night Raw came to a local city of mine, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Made the trip out there, super excited. We didn't even actually know that it was going to be a double taping until well after we bought the tickets. And I did attempt to buy tickets directly on the aisle where Jay would be making his entrance. I'm not going to say whether I successfully did that or did not at this point, because technically that could spoil what may have or may not have happened on the next Monday Night Raw. So I'll just keep it to myself for at least another few days. But when you find out you're going to a double taping, they don't tell you necessarily that it is a double taping. When they send you the email, you kind of just either figure it out on your own, or you can easily pretty much tell. If you look at tickets, just look and see if the next week after you're going, just see if there's another Raw or another SmackDown. And if there's not, there's a good chance that you're going to a double taping. And just to explain it really quick, if you don't know, double taping just means that they record 2 episodes of Raw, and then the following week is pre-recorded, and both those episodes back to back are just filmed in front of the same audience. But you'll get an email saying that there's a special start time, and the way that it actually evened out is normally if you go to a regular Monday Night Raw that's 3 hours long, which it's not currently, but when it was 3 hours, which I've gone to, is they'll usually tell you that the doors will open like an hour and a half before. The show will start at about 7:30. It's Eastern time, by the way. It'll say it's starting at 7:30. The actual airing will be at 8. They say 7:30 because they're going to give you a pre-show match, like a dark match or two. It'll run for 3 hours. And then with Raw, it would typically end at 11 o'clock, 3 hours later. With the double taping, they told us to be there by 6, I think it was 6:30. For this one, I got one email telling me the show starts at 6. I got another one saying it starts at 6:30, and it didn't actually end up starting until about 7. I think they did like one dark match right before, maybe 10 minutes before 7, but it started at 7. Now, the first couple hours are pretty much the exact same as any other Raw or SmackDown I've been to, where you see promos up on the screen, or if they do backstage segments, they're up on the screen. They come out, somebody welcomes you to Monday Night Raw. It's exactly what you see on TV. Nothing is different for the first portion. Now, they do tell you at the beginning, like, hey, make sure you don't leave. This is a double taping. You get 2 episodes of Raw. Kind of. This is a little bit misleading. You aren't really getting 2 full episodes of Raw. And what I mean by that is you're only getting the 2 episodes. In that second episode, you're only getting what they have to show you. And all that means is you're only getting what they have to do out in the ring in front of an audience. So there are a lot of things I'm sure I have not seen that are going to be on the next episode of Raw. And it would explain why a lot of things, or at least a few things, I shouldn't say a lot, but at least a few things that we saw seem to be missing a little bit of context. Again, I don't want to go into details because I'm not trying to spoil anything for the upcoming Raw, but since they didn't show any segments that may have led into any of the matches that we saw, other than the ones that we had already seen the previous week, like we saw in the first part of the taping where it was this week's Raw, you would see them call out a match for next week, but there were definitely portions that didn't totally make sense because it would have been something that was set up backstage with a storyline that we didn't see. So what that means is we didn't see any backstage segments, and it honestly took just a little over an hour to actually record the second episode. So what kind of stuff did we get to see? Just matches. We were told right at the start of it that it was going to be this match, this match, this match, this match, and this match. They listed off the exact matches we were about to watch, and then they just did them back to back to back to back. There was no promos leading in or out of them. There was nothing backstage. So it was kind of a weird feeling of a Raw, because normally you're getting the whole story. It's like you're watching an episode in person. This actually felt more similar. This portion of it, the last hour and a half, felt more similar to like the house shows that I've gone to, where there's no stories. It's just matches. It's just, here are the next ones. Here are the entrances. Now they do a match and they walk out. It's not really a complaint. I mean, we got to see some really good matches that I'm looking forward to seeing people in the community. Feel free to join the Discord if you want to be part of the group that chats along in the Discord along to episodes of Raw and SmackDown and even AEW shows. But it actually did kind of feel like I was watching something that wasn't part of the actual show. There were a couple other things that made it feel like I wasn't at a regular Raw or SmackDown once the second taping started. Now, first of all, some people started to leave after the first taping. I don't know if they just didn't care to see the next one. Maybe they didn't want it spoiled, but they were there. They were hyped. They were yelling for the whole first episode. And then some people picked up and left. I don't know if they just didn't understand, but they made it pretty clear, especially in person, that this was going to be it. So maybe they just had to go because the taping was going to make it go later than a normal episode. So it was a little bit weird to see a lot of, and I'm sure the WWE is going to do a very good job of reusing some clips from the first episode, or specifically only showing portions of the stadium that are still full. And don't get me wrong, no section was empty, but you could definitely look around and see patches missing that you wouldn't normally see and that you didn't see during the first taping. But it gets weirder, and this is something I'm going to be looking for in the next episode of Raw. I don't know what they're going to use this for or how they're going to use it. Actually, I think we just kind of workshopped it together. I think I do know how they're going to use it, but before they started the second taping, Lillian Garcia comes over the microphone and she looks at everybody in the crowd and she says, "Grand Rapids, I need to hear you cheer as loud as you can for a full minute." And I was like, okay. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they're trying to get us amped up for the part where, they do the who's better than me? And then they like pan into the stadium and they like, oh, and welcome to Monday Night Raw. And it's all whatever. But I don't think that's the case, because normally when they do that, you see the cameras move around. You see all the lights and the spotlights going. It was just us screaming. It was just us cheering for pretty much a minute. So I thought maybe it was just to lead in and then they were just going to start and they just want the crowd to already be going. But then Lillian Garcia again comes over the microphone and just says, "All right, great job. Now give me one full minute of booing. Boo as hard as you can." And it kind of hit me in that moment. Oh, we're making sound bites for you. We're providing audio for you to patch in where you need it, because the crowd kind of started to dwindle down a little bit for the second taping. Again, not by much, but enough. Patching where it was enough that you could definitely tell some people had left. I don't know, either that or it was just because maybe they were worried that the crowd wouldn't be able to keep up the same energy for the full duration, but that doesn't make any sense because they normally do 3 hours anyway, and they don't do that there. On a side note, if you're not already on the Patreon, I highly recommend you check it out at this point. It couldn't be a better time. We're putting out so many watch-alongs. Me and my fiance Tally do watch-alongs on the Patreon of a bunch of old matches that you guys submit. Any patron can watch all of the watch-alongs, but the higher tier patrons actually get to pick every single month which matches we go through and which ones we watch. It's been a great way for her and I to learn wrestling, learn the history of a lot of these wrestlers, and see a bunch of wrestlers that we've never actually heard of before, but now we understand references that we didn't. Tally and I also have a podcast that goes there every month that you guys get to participate in if you choose to. The Patreon is just an extremely active and close-knit community at this point, and I invite you to check it out. The link will be down below. Let's go back to the video. I don't know, maybe some of you have been to a double taping. Have you figured out, did you kind of get an idea of what the cheering and the booing thing is for? I think it is going to be kind of piped in for the second show on Monday Night Raw next week. I don't exactly know how or why. I mean, again, the crowd didn't dwindle that much, and the crowd being tired doesn't really make sense to me because you already do 3-hour shows anyway. It felt like we were like acting in a booth and just kind of, providing a fake cheer and a fake boo for them to use however they needed to that night. And I've been to some SmackDowns, Raws, I've been to PLEs. At this point, I've gotten some experience in the last year going to shows. That's never been a thing. We've never done that once. And this is just my personal experience. Anybody else could have gone and not felt this at all. But when we did the boo cheering, and it kind of hit me that we were recording something for them to use in the next episode, and it made the feeling of being there feel a little bit less organic. It felt like that was an indicator like, okay, this next portion isn't real. which of course it is. It's still being used for Raw. It's still going to air. But maybe, you know what? Maybe it's for the backstage segments that we're not going to see. Maybe they're going to kind of control the volume and use it so we boo certain people that are shown backstage, and that could be it. You know what? Again, I think we workshopped it. I think we kind of figured it out. So I guess I'll be paying attention during the next Raw if there is backstage segments where a clear face or a clear heel. I'm figuring it out again. Now I think I actually know what it is. All right, third time's the charm. You know, at the start of a Raw or SmackDown, instead of doing all like a bunch of crazy stuff, now it seems like what they do compared to like old episodes on WWF or WWE, they show the wrestler entering with like their luggage, like they're coming in from the parking lot. What does the crowd always do? When it's Cody Rhodes and they're walking in, oh my God, it's cheering, cheering, cheering. But then they show Dom and they show Liv walking in, looking all like, oh, Judgment Day, we're so cool. And there's crazy booing. I think that's it. So next episode of Raw, if you see loud cheering then they show people walking in and loud booing when it's the heel walking in, we just figured it out together. Now half this video of questions we just kind of answered ourselves, so that doesn't even need to be in there, but I'll leave it in case anybody else has an idea that makes even more sense than that. But anyway, I just wanted to share the experience. Check out the Discord, check out the Patreon. Got some other videos coming out in the next week or two. Actually I think I might have 2 AEW videos coming up, but at least one where I'm excited, where I'm going to be kind of updating what we've been talking about in the past about me getting more into AEW and watching it pretty consistently. But thanks for watching the video. Thank you patrons who are flying up the screen. I will see you in the next one.